No one is talking about this while the Democrats panic about the government waste being uncovered by DOGE. One name from among the left has long been calling on them to do something about the fact that the Pentagon has failed its audits year after year. And the name is Jon Stewart, because this exchange he had with former Deputy Secretary of Defense Kathleen Hicks from 2023 is going viral now for all the right reasons, in my opinion. Watch this for yourself before I tell you why.
Do you feel like these are unfair questions of somebody within a department of that size and scope? Do you feel that it's somewhat unfair?
You have a particular thing you really want to talk about and you're asking me other questions, but I don't think it's unfair to ask me about the audit. It's absolutely the case that the United States military should be able to pass an audit, and we've got to be on that pathway to get there.
But don't you think that does speak to the larger point that we're trying to get at, which is good journalism uncovers corruption? And
okay, good journalism does uncover corruption, but I'm not sure these two things are linked. An audit is not.
But they are.
Okay, so you need to explain to me, do you understand what an audit does and the degree to which it is linked to the question that you're asking?
I believe so.
Okay, go ahead. Give me your explanation.
No, I don't mind learning. So what I would suggest is that the audit that they have in the military doesn't really look at whether or not there's efficacy. It's just whether they got delivered the thing that they ordered. And
that is any audit. That is any audit. That is true.
But generally, those audits aren't $400 billion for Raytheon and $1.7 trillion for a plane that doesn't seem to be doing. Like, there is a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse within a system.
I was expecting him to mince words, but he sure didn't, because he said the quiet part out loud with the last sentence. What is the average person supposed to think when you've got an ever-expanding budget at the Pentagon, multiple failures in a row to pass audits for as much as 63% of its $4 trillion assets, and a military-industrial complex that would want nothing more than big budgets and small accountability? Remember, just this past year was the 7th time in a row that the United States Pentagon and Department of Defense have failed to completely account for over $800 billion of the total budget. And that's a number spent on defense that's larger than all of the next 10 countries combined with the highest military spending. By the way, we're having some really important conversations here every day, so please be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to never miss out. Now, what I found most surprising is the kind of attitude that we're seeing from Kathleen Hicks, almost acting in a nonchalant yet condescending way, even though at the time she's supposed to have the answers, and the fact that Jon Stewart was able to push through despite the resistance is at least one feather in his cap that he deserves credit for.
So an audit is exactly what you just described, which is, do I know what was delivered to which place?
Right.
The ability to pass an audit, or the fact that the DoD has not passed an audit, is not suggestive of waste, fraud, and abuse. That is completely false right there. So
what is
now
it
it's a question of, it's suggestive that we don't have an accurate inventory that we can pull up of what we have where. That is not the same as saying we can't do that because waste, fraud, and abuse has occurred.
So in my world, that's waste.
How is that waste?
If I give you $1 billion and you can't tell me what happened to it, that to me is wasteful. That means you are not responsible. But if you can't tell me where it went, then what am I supposed to think? And when there has been reporting, I mean, this is not, look, I'm not saying this is on you and that you caused this, but I think it's a tough argument to
I'm pretty
make
sure
that
I didn't cause it.
an $850 billion budget to an organization that can't pass an audit and tell you where that money went, like, I think most people would consider that somewhere in the realm of waste, fraud, or abuse, because they would wonder why that money isn't well accounted for.
And here's the thing, there's really no other logical pathway from a department failing audits at such a large scale, and the conclusion that there has to be some sort of abuse, or at least waste that's going on. If the money going in at one end is twice the amount of money that you receive at the other end, well, something's happened along the way. And I don't know why Kathleen is trying to make it sound more complicated than it really is. Remember, auditing the Pentagon and cutting down on waste in the Defense Department is an issue that unites both the populist right and left in this country. Even someone like Cenk Uygur threw their weight behind Elon Musk and DOGE over the particular issue of waste in the Pentagon. It seems like he, along with Jon Stewart, are in a growing list of people on the left realizing that the average American taxpayer is being exploited by an entrenched bureaucracy that operates across party lines. That's why just this week we saw Donald Trump finally empower Elon Musk to go after the Defense Department and go deeper into uncovering its spending records than any previous government ever has.
Bottom line, you say you trust him.
Trust Elon? Oh, he's not gaining anything. In fact, I wonder how he can devote the time to it. He's so into it. But I told him to do that. Then I'm going to tell him very soon, like maybe in 24 hours, to go check the Department of Education. He's going to find the same thing. Then I'm going to go to the military. Let's check the military. We're going to find billions, hundreds of billions of dollars of fraud and abuse. And, you know, the people elected me on that.
And that's true. The American people gravitated to Donald Trump because they wanted a wrecking ball against this entrenched establishment, and that's what they're getting. Especially with someone like Pete Hegseth at the helm, who's welcoming Doge's keen eye on defense spending. We may finally see some movement. Musk himself over the past few months has been giving people a snapshot into just how deep the waste and bureaucratic red tape works in the Defense Department, revealing back in November after a conversation with military officials that, and I quote, "It now takes longer to renovate stairs at 24 months in the Pentagon than it took to build the whole Pentagon at 16 months in the 1940s. Not just that, there was quite a wave we saw when it was revealed that the US Air Force was spending nearly $1,300 a piece for coffee mugs. That kind of shows you how quickly prices balloon when defense contractors know they can charge absurdly inflated prices to government agencies when there's no oversight on the spending of taxpayer money. That's crazy. And it was really something when Kathleen here almost questioned Jon Stewart why he was even bothered by the dollar number in discussions like this.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand where you're trying to go, other than the dollars, which really bother you.
I think it doesn't really bother me. I think it's all connected.
Okay.
I think
tell
look,
me that story. Tell me how you're thinking about that.
When I see a State Department get a certain amount of money and a military budget be 10 times that, and I see a struggle within government to get people like more basic services, and then that department that got that, I mean, we got out of 20 years of war and the Pentagon got a $50 billion raise. Like, that's shocking to me. Now, I may not understand exactly the ins and outs and the incredible magic of an audit, but I'm a human being who lives on the earth and can't figure out how $850 billion to a department means that the rank and file still have to be on food stamps. Like, to me, that's corruption. I'm sorry. And if that blows your mind, and if you think like that's like a crazy agenda for me to have, I really think that that's institutional thinking, and that it's not looking at the day-to-day reality of the people that you call the greatest fighting force in the world. So I get back to this idea of like, I'm not looking to pick a fight with you, but I am surprised at that the reaction to these questions are, you don't know what an audit is, bucko. Like, that's just weird to me.
It's about time someone said it in the unfiltered way, because that's what the taxpayer feels when they hear a conversation like this. Right now, Doge seems to have realized that its greatest margin for cutting down on waste is probably the Defense Department above anything else, and I think this is where the real test for Donald Trump and Elon Musk lies for whether they're serious about trimming down the fat on these government agencies. But you let me know in the comments if you see that happening, because I think it's going to be long before we find out whether things are truly moving in the right direction.